on this. Yeah. So Alan, start yourself briefly discussion about what is your total experience on Java DataDB technologies, and what is your roles and responsibilities in the current project, and what is your total experience and roles and responsibilities, and also technology stack that you are working on right now. So can you briefly explain?
Okay. I have overall 7 years plus of experience with Java. Currently, I'm working at HSBC. The projects I'm working on are related to core banking system, gathering data from the golden source and try to connect to the local golden source and do a reconciliation process of the information. The technologies I use currently are Java version 1.7 and 1.8 for some components. Also, some monolith applications, but mostly microservices applications. Some of these applications are for the security and access, another provides, for example, catalogs, another gets the information from the users, another for the clients, also information for the customers, and this is how the applications are interconnected between the ecosystem of microservices. For run these applications, we use Spring Boot, a little bit of the Netflix stack, but also we use some components in Docker and mounted in Kubernetes in the cloud, just for simple operations. For example, for gather only the combination, we have a component called align table that gathers information, the ID from the golden source and the ID from the local source. And this pair of data, it's retrieved by these components on the cloud.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Also, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine, Alan. That's fine. So okay. You are working. You already working on Spring Boot, right?
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. You are and also working on Java 8, Java yes. 7 and 8.
Yes,
fine.
Both
that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's fine. And your experience is 7+ years of experience, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So my first question. So how do you rate yourself on core Java from out of 5? How do you rate yourself? I'm asking, clearly listen, I'm asking, rate yourself on knowledge on core Java. Out of 5, what is your rating? What is your knowledge rating on core Java?
Can you give me an example, for example?
For example, see, my knowledge on core Java out of 5, 4. Okay. What is your knowledge on core Java? In another way, my score, my capability on core Java 4 score out of 5. What is your capability? That is what I'm asking.
Okay, I think 4 or 5. Yep.
Yeah, 4, 5. Thank you. So in that case, we will start from the core Java and we will end with the Spring Boot. Okay.
Okay.
So can you tell me what exactly abstraction?
Yeah, abstraction, it's one of the capabilities of the object-oriented programming, PO. Specifically in Java, it's about gather the information or the properties from another objects and implement in new ones. It's related to another concept called inheritance and another one called polymorphism that works together to instantiate new objects or create the same patterns in Java.
Okay. So what is meant by abstraction? Why we need abstraction?
How can I say it? It's let me think in an example.
I'm asking actually what is the concept of abstraction? So why it is came into the picture. So what is the use cases of abstraction in our day-to-day programming? That is what I'm expecting.
Okay, and need to think the correct, the right answer. I don't have it right now, but yeah, need to think it.
Okay, fine. So I will review once end of our session, end of our mock interview. I will review the what we need to update, where we need to update. Okay, fine, fine. So what is an interface?
Okay, an interface is an class type in Java that describes the methods of one class. For example, you declare a method of type string, for example, and its parameters. It's only the description, and you can implement it in another class or some classes. In this implementation, you use the same description, but you use the properties in a different way.
Okay, fine. So what is the behavior of interface? So what type of methods we are declaring in interface?
What type of methods? It can be all of all except static methods.
Are you sure? Static methods?
No, all of them except static methods.
Okay. So okay, what is that method? Is it a abstract method or concrete methods?
No, abstract can't be using interface like that. Only simply normal methods.
Normal methods in the sense implementation of methods, or what kind of method? Normal methods means what is the method behavior?
How can I say it? Yes, all for types of data, for example, strings, integers, booleans, also all the classes,
Okay.
not primitives ones, and not
Okay, fine. So what is inheritance?
Okay, inheritance is the ability in Java, for example, to get properties from a parent class, for example. If you declare an interface or extends your functionality to another class, you can access to.
Can we extend class to from class to interface? Can we use extend keyword when we are extending an interface from the class? What is the right keyword to use when the extend?
In Java 1.7 and previously versions, it's not possible, but in Java 1.8, you can inheritance from two classes, for example. It's a little tricky, but it's possible.
Okay, fine. So yeah. So what is encapsulation?
Okay, it's the ability to create objects inside another object and properties inside the classes. For example, if I create a value object with 5 properties, also this value object can be declared in another class, field its properties, and also this another class can be implemented, encapsulated in another class. It's like a tree of data that it's low in levels or upper levels between the information.
Okay, fine. So what is string?
String. Okay, string is an object for Java composed of characters, is to create a string of information. And
Okay, fine. So what are the ways to create a string object? How many ways we can create a string object?
How many times? Can you repeat, please?
How many ways? How can you create a string object? How many ways you can create a string object?
How many ways?
Or how can you create a string object? What are the ways?
Okay.
you can create a string object.
Okay, can be instantiated by declaring it. For example, a name is equal to new string without any parameter, or you can add a charge parameter, so create a from a number an integer, and also you can create it using another classes that are known as string builder and string builder, string.
Don't go for a string builder or any other string classes. I'm asking just string only. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Fine. So why string is immutable?
It's immutable. Yeah, I don't remember very well, but a little bit of what I remember, it's because its properties. When you instantiate a new string, it's use its specific expression memory, and yeah, this way it's not accessible via threads. It's what I remember. Not remember very well.
Okay. So what is the difference between string buffer and string builder?
Okay, string buffer and string builder. A string builder, it's synchronized, and string buffer, it's not synchronized.
Are you sure?
Or inverted. It's one of the string buffer, it's not synchronized, and the string builder is synchronized. Yeah, string builder not synchronized, string buffer it's not synchronized.
Fine. So what is an exception?
Yeah, can you repeat?
What is an exception? What is exception?
An exception. Okay, an exception. It's when the code doesn't go to the specific functionality. Not treated like an error, because there are exceptions that can be controlled using the try catch block. It's another way of the code it's responding based on this running program. For example, no file exception, no pointer exception, and so on.
Okay, fine. So did you work on creating a custom exception? So do you know about custom exception?
Yeah, in a simple way, only extending from the exception main class, not using another ones. But yeah, I have created some custom exceptions. For example, recently I created one control the exceptions when I do a REST template exchange, for example. Create an exception based on the response code.
Okay. So what is a superclass of exceptions?
I don't remember very well.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, no,
Fine. So what is collection framework? What are the interfaces are there in collection framework?
okay, collection frameworks is from the Java API, and it's used for certain number of information, also like lists, like maps, like sets, and so on.
So can you tell me about what is the behavior of list, and what is the behavior of set, and what is the behavior of map?
For example, in the list you can declare for example, a simple list of elements of the same time. For example, the same type. For example, the string, list of a string, or list or the declared object can be a custom declared object. For example, in the case of map, you can create different kinds of maps depending on the implementation. For example, a hash map that has key power values,
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I'm asking. I'm not asking implementation classes of those. Just before going to implementations, what is the behavior of a list? How see when we are implementing a list interface, we have some implemented classes like array list, linked list, tag, and vector, right? So, what is the behavior of list? How it will be behaved? So is it allow duplicates or is it not allow duplicates or is it synchronized or is it not synchronized? Is it a thread safe in terms of synchronized? So what kind of behavior is it is list?
Okay, in the case of list, it is not thread safe. Also, it can be synchronized and I accepts repetitive elements, but
Okay, fine. I got it where you are. Okay, fine. That's okay. No issue. So what is the difference between Spring and Spring Boot?
The difference, okay, Spring it's both of them are frameworks, but in case of Spring, it's most implemented in another kind of applications, monolithics, for example, and Spring Boot provides another functionality that it's ready for run serverless. For example, in Spring Boot, you have a embedded a web server. You can start it from a simple command, or you can create a simple jar, and it's more basic for run out of the box. No need of the server in first instance.
Okay, only that those are the differences or any other differences?
No, can you repeat?
Okay, I'm asking more than that differences. You are saying some configurations and embedded server. So other than that, what is the differences?
Okay. For example, in Spring Boot, there is a main properties called application properties, where you can configure all these configs for the server, the port, the
No, the same thing. Yeah, the same thing we can achieve in a Spring framework also, right? So I'm asking what exactly difference between Spring Boot and what are the features we have in a Spring Boot? Those are not having in a Spring framework. That is what I'm expecting. Yeah. The same application data properties file we have a Spring framework as well as Spring Boot also. I'm expecting features which are having in the Spring Boot. Those are not having in a Spring framework.
Okay. Spring Boot, it's let me think. Yeah, mostly because all you can do with Spring, you can do it also with Spring Boot.
Okay, fine. So what is the difference between yeah, Elaine. So what is @controller? @controller annotation. I'm asking @controller annotation. What is @controller?
Controller. Yeah, controller in both in Spring and Spring Boot. It's an element that declares the definition from the endpoints from an application, specifically in REST data transmission.
So what is @REST controller then? REST controller. @REST controller annotation.
REST controller is ready to declare all the endpoints without adding any further configuration. Instead of a simple controller, when you can declare another configurations. For example, to convert a controller into a REST controller, you need to add another configs, another annotations, and add some of the boilerplate and configuration.
Okay, fine. Fine, Elaine. So I'm giving you rating out of 5 below 1 only. Why? Because you are having a experience and coding knowledge, but you are not having a basic knowledge. Okay, and also in a core Java also you are scored less than one. Why? Because so you know the concept, but you are not saying in a well formatted way, well understanding way the responses. What I'm asking, for example, I asked the first question is what is abstraction? So how can we achieve in our day-to-day programming, right? So you are a senior software engineer, so more than 7 years experience, right? So you should say the concept of abstraction. So where we are using this abstraction, or how we are implementing, or how we are achieving this abstraction in our day-to-day programming. So abstraction is nothing but showing the essential data and hiding the non-essential data, right? So what is mean by showing the essential data and hiding the non-essential data? Non-essential data in the sense implementation of that abstraction. So showing the essential data means what is we are going to do, or what is the this statement is represents. This statement is briefly tells about, like that we can define in abstraction. So for example, take a real time world example. For example, car. See, when we are seeing car, are we able to see engine capacity? Are we able to see engine implementation? So those all are implemented or and hiding information. So when we are seeing car, so we are able to see wheels of the car, we are able to see doors of the car, we are able to see mirrors of the car, but we are not able to see the engine implementation, right? Capacity of that car, and internal implementation of that mission, and engine. So steering implementation we cannot see, right? So those all are implementations. So abstraction is nothing but a car. By seeing that image, we can able to sense, we can aware, oh, this is the car. So like that, by seeing an image, or by seeing something, we can aware, oh, this is the car, like that. So coming to our Java code. So for example, in your interface is a 100% abstraction, right? So abstraction is showing the essential data and hiding the non-implemented data, and hiding the implementation data. So coming to our day-to-day code. So if you are we can achieve abstraction concept by writing abstraction classes as well as interfaces. So if you take abstraction interface, so we can define all. For example, we are implementing a employee service. So what kind of information we need for that employee service? Create employee, so that we need to store employee details in the database, and update employee, and get employee, and delete employee. Update employee in the sense we need to update the whenever they want employee wants to update his details. So get employee whenever he want to see his details from the database, by giving his ID, employee ID, he can get the employee details. So like that, we can define employee functions in an employee interface. So public void create employee, that is the abstraction method. So public employee get employee details by employee ID of employee string employee ID, that is get employee function, one abstract method. Update employee, public employee update employee of employee object. So that is one abstract method. Delete employee, so public void delete employee of string employee ID. So these are the 4 abstraction methods. By seeing these methods, you can aware, or you can sense, we can sense, oh, this is the create employee. So somewhere we will have an implementation to create function. Oh, this is the get employee. Somewhere we will have a get implementation in some other place, or implemented class of this interface. So like that, by seeing this interface, you're able to know, right? Oh, this is the 4 functionalities related to employee related operations. So like that, right? So that is what our day-to-day code implementation by 100% of abstract implementation. Did you get what I'm saying? What abstraction concept, where we are implementing, how we are achieving 100% abstraction through our day-to-day code. So this is the best example. Okay.
Okay.
And so I asked what is inheritance. So abstraction concept we can achieve inheritance also. So whenever we are defining an abstract methods in an interface, we should provide implementation one of the implemented classes. So here you need to focus on two keywords. One is extend, one is implements. So when you are extending abstract class, so when you are providing an implementation class, you should use the extend keyword. So my class B extend class A, right? So my class B implements class interface A. So when you are providing an implementation for the interface, you need to use implements keyword. So when you are providing an implementation for the class or any abstract class or any parent class, you need to use extend keyword. So these are the main rules we need to follow when we are providing an implementation. Fine. So assume we are providing an implementation for the interface in our class. Okay. So we need to provide the implementation for create employee. We need to provide the implementation for get employee. We need to provide the implementation for the update employee as well as delete employee. So this is what inheritance. So this is what the implementation or inheritance part. So coming to inheritance part. So when you are having parent and child class, when you are having a parent and child class, so if you're getting the properties of parent to the child is nothing but inheritance. Inherit. So we are getting the properties of superclass to subclass or derived class to base class. So like superclass to subclass, parent class to child class. So for example, abstraction class is there. So in an abstraction class, we have abstract methods as well as non-abstract methods also. So when we are extending this class into my child class, so we can able to get what are the implementations are there in an abstract class, right? Abstract class will have abstract methods as well as non-abstract methods. So when we are extending this abstract class from my child class, so I can able to get the already implemented methods in my child class. I can able to provide the implementation. What are the abstract methods are there in a parent class, right? So this is what inheritance. Got it?
Okay.
And coming to encapsulation. So encapsulation is nothing but binding the data, which means binding the data means we are providing the security for the data, variables and methods group into together, which means into a single unit. Like, so take an example of Java Pozo. So in the Java Pozo, we have a different kind of fields. For example, take the employee Pozo. So in an employee Pozo, in the sense a simple Java employee object, right? So what fields we have an employee object? Employee ID, employee name, employee salary, employee phone, employee address. So these fields recommended to define in a private string employee ID, private string employee name, private string address, private string phone. Like that, we can define in a private using private access modifier, access specifier. So we cannot access these variables in outside the class, right? So this is the one way of restricting the fields to unavailability. We are making unavailability of outside of the class. We means capsulating. We means we are giving the scope inside the class only, right? Now how can we get those values in outside the class? By providing a setters and getters public methods. So whenever we have these kind of private fields, we need to hold those data by providing a setters and getters public methods. So we can get those values via public methods, but we cannot change the definitions of those variables. So this is nothing but an encapsulation. The best example of the encapsulation, a simple Java Pozo or simple Java class, right? You got it. So in this manner, we need to explain when we are interviewer expecting this kind of questions. In this way, we need to give the answer in a proper way, right?
Okay, right.
And coming to string. So I asked how many ways we can create a string object, right? So of course you said the string is a Java object and the string class is a Java object. Fine, that's fine. So we can create a string object in a two ways. One is a string literal, one is a string object. So string s equals to align. So that is also string object, but that is the literal object. That is the constant. Literal means constant. So string s1 equals to new string of align. That is also string object, right? So by using new keyword, we can create a string object, and also by using string literals also we can create a string object. And now, what is the literal and why we have a two different kind of options to create a string object? That will comes under string immutable picture, the concept. So why string is immutable? I asked why string is immutable. See, in a Java, most of the places, and in our day to day, we are using string variables only, right? So if you are using the same variable in a multiple places, if the string is not immutable, there may be a chance of the object will be modified, right? We are expecting the same object in a multiple places. And also, if it is not immutable, every time it will create a new object, and there is a chance of changing the variables also if it is not mutable, right? So it is unnecessarily occupying a lot of memory wherever we are using a multiple times, right? So to avoid such type of situations in a memory management area, to provide an efficient memory for the string variables, the people are made it is an immutable object. And so that is the reason the string constant pool, it is a special kind of memory area is came into the picture. If you see a JVM internal architecture, so we have a 5 different kind of memory areas. So one is stack area, one is heap area, one is register area, one is net, something kind of, we have a 5 kind of different memory areas. So in that we have a heap memory area also. So inside the heap memory we have a string constant pool in a special kind of memory. So out of heap memory we have a string constant pool also inside the heap memory. So whenever you are defining a string literals, string s equal to align, the align will stored into string constant pool instead of heap memory. So again you are defining as string st equals to align. So whenever you are giving the same object again, so instead of creating a new object, it will check whether my string constant pool is having the same object or not. If it is having the same object, it will again refer to the same object. So instead of creating a new object, so that is the reason that is the one of the main reason the strings are immutable. Got it? So we cannot change it. So if you are creating a string s3 equals to new string of align, at that time when you are using a new keyword, it will store into the heap memory instead of constant pool. Got it? All string literals will store into the string constant pool. So all new objects will store into the heap memory, right? So this is what string constant pool and heap memory, two different kind of memory areas are uh, or we have in a heap memory in a memory concept. Okay.
Okay.
So you need to focus on more on that string literals, and how can we create a string literals, and what are the equals and double equals and equals method in a string, how those behaviors when we are comparing two strings in terms of double equal, in terms of equals method, you need to focus on that. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And coming to string buffer and string builder, okay, string is immutable. So somewhere we have a mutable objects also. So that is the reason people are giving chance to us. They created mutable objects also, which means string buffer and string builder. Okay. So string builder, the name itself a builder, building the objects. So whenever you are creating a constructed object, complex object piece by piece, so you can go for the string builder. So builder, it is a building step by step. We can construct a multiple object or complex object, not multiple object, complex object by using string builder. So for example, you are writing a search query. So you need to add different search criteria to the final query. So that in that final query, you can define a string builder. So each and every query we can append string builder SB equals to new string builder, SB dot append some query, SB dot append some second query, such criteria, SB dot append some final query. Last, after the once we have a total search query, you can convert it into the two string, so that a final query you can send to the search criteria. So in that purposes, we can go for the string builder. We need to have a model. It should be a mutable. If it is not mutable, it will create a every time new objects when we are appending, right? So this is the purpose we have a mutable objects also in a string. So that in a special criteria. So why even though we have a string builder, why we need a string buffer also in a thread shape manner? In a thread shape manner, string buffer and string builder, one is thread shape and one is not thread shape. So based on your situations, based on your criteria, we can go for the string buffer and string builder. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. And coming to collections. So collections, and I asked what are the behavior of collections. See, whenever we are having some classes from JDK, each and every class having some behavior, right? So how it will be behaved when we are using that? So collections, list, set, and map is the another collection type of data type. Another type of collection data type. Collection data. So list, if you are using a list, so list is nothing but it will allow duplicates and it will allow the insertion order. So what are the, in what way you are inserting, in what way you are adding the elements, the same way it will give the list. So that is what a behavior of list. And also it will allow the duplicates. If you are adding the same object in the 2 times, 3 times, multiple times, so all objects you will get the when you are implementing implementing one of the list interface class, right? So the behavior of list is it will allow duplicates as well as insertion order. So what way you are adding the elements to the list interface, those the same way it will give the objects when you are traversing the, or when you are retrieving the elements from the list. So this is the interface. So we need to provide the implementation, right? How we are having an employee interface, we are providing employee implementation in our employee IMPL. The same way we have a implemented classes in our JDK, in our Java. So array list is one implementation class, linked list is one implementation class, and vector and stag, and those are the implementations. So vector and stag are the before Java 1.2. So after 1.2, these two classes we can call it as the legacy classes, and also these two classes are thread safe. So array list and linked list we have a after Java 1.2. Okay, so these two we can provide the implementations for the list interface. The same way we have a set interface. What is the behavior of set interface? So set interface will not, it is list interface is having duplicates, right? So it will not allow. So one more kind of collection. So it should not allow the duplicates element, and also it should not give the guarantee of insertion order. So that is what a set interface. So we have a implementation called set interface also, like hash set, right? Linked hash set. How we are having array list and linked array list. The same way we have a hash set and linked hash set, and tree set, navigable set. So what are the implementation classes are from under set interface? So you need to focus on that. So, and you need to focus on behavior of these implementation classes also. For example, so set implemented class. Hash set is one of the implemented class of set interface, right? So hash set will not allow duplicates, as well as it will not guarantee to the insertion order. So if you want to maintain a unique elements as well as insertion order also, then you go for the linked hash set. So the behavior of linked list, the behavior of linked hash set, right? It will follow, it will give the insertion order. It will give the insertion order whenever you are retrieving the data from the linked list. So in terms of the same behavior will happens in any implemented interfaces. For example, linked list, here we are have a linked hash set. So linked hash set will not allow the duplicates. Why? Because the set behavior, right? And also, but the default behavior of linked list is that it will allow the insertion order. So if you want to maintain a duplicate elements as well as insertion order, you can better to go for the linked hash set. So whenever we know the exact behavior of all implemented classes, then only you can go for the real-time implementation. So you need to focus on all these classes. So what is the internal implementation of hash set, and what is the internal implementation of hash map? What is the internal implementation of array list? You need to go. You need to refer all these things whenever we are. So if you know very well, so that you can use these classes efficiently in your day-to-day code, right?
Okay. Right.
So if you don't know the behavior of linked list, the behavior of list implemented classes, the behavior of set implemented classes, the behavior of map implemented classes, we cannot take a decision which class should I need to use this particular scenario. So at that time you will confuse if you don't have a better understanding on basics, right? So you need to focus on set, list, and map and behavior of these three collection interfaces, as well as you need to focus on implemented classes behaviors also.
Okay, great.
Right. And coming to Spring, so Spring framework and Spring MVC, Spring Boot and Spring MVC. I asked the difference, right? So, and I also asked address controller and address rest controller. See, whenever we are going for the framework and whenever we are choosing a next framework, so what are the hurdles we are facing in a previous framework? For example, we moved from Spring to Spring MVC to Spring Boot. So, what is the hurdles we facing? What is the hurdles we facing from the Spring MVC? What are the better features are available from the Spring Boot? So those key factors we need to focus. So what are the hurdles we face in this as part of Spring MVC? So we can develop a RESTful applications using Spring MVC also, Spring framework also. But there is a lot of configuration. There is a lot of version complications, right? So whenever you are using external software components, you need to you are the owner of to maintain all the versions, compatible versions. When you are declaring the dependencies in your format XML, and also you need to provide, you are the responsible to create each and every class to bean to make that your classes as a Spring beans by defining a in our servlet.xml and beans.xml. So those are the XML files you need to create each and every class to bean in a proper and in a proper manner. If you are not creating a proper manner, it will create the exception, right? You are the responsible. And also you have a lot of configurations, a lot of dependencies when we are working with an XML files. So all and also, so the application you need to deploy in a server. So that for that you need to have an external server, whether it is a Tomcat, whether it is a WebLogic, whether it is a WebSphere, whatever it may be. So you need to configure, you need to install, and you need to configure an external server also once your application is ready to deploy. If you want to deploy your application and test your application, you need an external server, right? So application server, you need application server. So for that purpose, these are the lot of dependencies, these are the lot of configurations, these are the lot of dependencies we are facing, we are having in a Spring, in a normal Spring MVC or normal Spring application, right? So coming to Spring Boot, so this is what the difference. Coming to Spring Boot, we no need to bother about a version complexity. Why? Because Spring Boot by default coming with the Spring starters. So for it is a web, we have a Spring Boot, Spring boot starter web. If it is a data, if it is a Spring data related, Spring boot data JPA, right? So there is no need to worry about the versions. So Spring Boot automatically take care about compatible versions when we are running a first time program in our project. So it will compare what kind of version of the software I need to download. Those things will take care by the Spring Boot. Okay, that is one thing. And second thing, so we don't have a EC in a Spring Boot application. We should define web.xml also. Deployment descriptor means, so this is what a description of this project. So this is the main class, front class, this is the mappings of this class, this is the URL pattern. Like that, we need to describe what is our project, what is the process, what are the components we are using in this project. In the same way, we need to define servlet mapping and all the XML files in a web.xml. So here we don't have any web.xml. Here we don't have any beans.xml. Here you don't need to configure all beans here. Spring Boot will automatically configure the things when you are providing an annotation. For example, you are providing an REST controller. So the class will be treated as a REST controller of a Spring framework. So whenever we are running this application, so if you are providing a component in that class controller, your main class, your controller class, so that Spring container, which means Spring framework will know, hey, he defined controller, so that this class is a controller class. So I need to treat this class is a controller class of this application. Like that, Spring container will sense based on the annotation. So in the Spring Boot main class, we are defining Spring Boot application. So Spring Boot application is nothing but it is a combination of configuration, enable configuration, component scan, which means component scan in the sense whatever the classes we implemented inside the Spring Boot, right? So all classes will treat as a component when we are providing a proper annotation on top of the class. So all components will be scanned by the at the rate component scan annotation, and at the rate enabled auto configuration will take care of configuring all the beans internally by reading the annotations on top of classes. So whenever you are providing at the rate component or at the rate configuration, at the rate service or at the rate repository on top of respective classes, the Spring Boot will take care of to create a beans for those classes. So automatically happens. So that is what auto configuration. So you don't need to worry about external configurations, a lot of configurations and a lot of XML files. So you don't need to write. So simply it will take care of that. And coming to external server, where you deploy your application, you need to have an external server. But Spring Boot, in a Spring Boot web starter and web service starter. So web starter is for the RESTful applications and web service starter is for the SOAP applications. So by default, it is coming embedded Tomcat server. So whenever you right click on the project run as a Spring Boot application, automatically it will create a jar of that application, and it will deploy to the server of embedded. It is coming with the Spring Boot. So these are the benefits are coming from the Spring Boot, right? So this is what a Spring Boot features. So it is a production ready application. We can say production ready application, which means we directly deploying, right? Directly right click on the application and running the application. Directly it is auto configuring everything, auto compiling everything, and forming the jar and formatting jar and deploying the application. Directly we can test our application by Postman or any supported testing tools. Right? This is what a Spring Boot. Right? We can write our code in a better readability, and we can avoid the lot of version complications. We can avoid the lot of manual configurations, right? And it also it is giving a best time in a short time and a better productivity when we are using a Spring Boot, right? So this is what my feedback. And next time onwards, you need to focus on OOPS concept very well, and you need to focus on exceptions. How we can create an exception? What are the superclass of exception? Superclass of exception is throwable. And what is the difference between error and exception? Error when error will occur, when exception will occur, and what is the checked and unchecked exceptions, right? So like that, what is the collections, all collection behavior and implemented classes, and also internal implementation of collection classes, right? And also all annotations from the Spring framework, right? What is the purpose of that annotation? Which annotation where we need to use, and what are the methods are there, and what are the verbs, or what are the methods, or what are the API methods are there in a RESTful application when we are using a Spring Boot. Post mapping, get mapping, delete mapping, update, put mappings are there, right? So what is the behavior of that? In which place, in which method we are going to use? So you need to focus on that.
Okay. Awesome.
And also, I'm trying to upload. I'm trying to give this video in our YouTube channel. So you need to refer multiple times so that you will aware what I am expecting from you. Okay. So this is what market is expecting as a 7 years experience. Okay. So once you updated these things, we can go for the next level, next mock interview. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Keep on practicing, keep on update your knowledge. We will meet a next interview. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Thank you so much, Leo. The replace of the knowledge you have, it's good. Thank you so much.
Yes, see, starting in a starting interview, I am also facing the same kind of feedback in my career starting, right? So we can update the things by getting the feedback from the interviewer, and we can update the things from our lagging, where we are lagging, right? So based on the feedback, based on the gaps, so we need to fulfill that gaps, and we need to make ourselves as a strong, right? So now your score is less than 1. Maybe next interview you will have more than 1 score. Maybe third interview you will get 2 score. Maybe fourth interview you will get a 3 score. Maybe fifth interview you will get a more than 3. So at that time you will be strong to crack any interview. So I want to make you in that position. Okay. So I want to make you strong to face any kind of interview in our Java microservice mode.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. See you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.